Welcome everyone. My name is Sarah Ray from the Bloomfield Public Library. We are excited to have Kirsten back tonight for another fitness class information session. We are going to be talking about balance this evening. So I'm going to turn this over to Kirsten.
Thank you, Sarah. Hi, everybody. So glad to be back with you all. So tonight we're going to talk about balance. This is going to be kind of geared towards beginner, maybe a little bit intermediate, not advanced. So that could maybe be another time. But today we're going to just talk a little bit about what is balance and how we can improve it. I'm going to share my screen just for a few minutes, just so everybody can see some of the things that I've written down. And I can send a PDF to Sarah afterwards because there are some lists of exercises as well. So I'm just going to pop forward for a second so I can share my screen. All righty, so balance. It's definitely very important, of course. It's on a lot of folks' minds. Most of you know, I think by now, or maybe you don't, I do work at Seabury Active Life Plan Community, which is in Bloomfield. And it's a 50+ retirement community. And we have people of all walks of life here, all different ages, all different abilities, and different levels of care as well. So balance certainly is something that we talk about a lot here at Seabury. Basically, balance, by definition, is the ability to maintain the body's center of mass over its base of support. And our balance is achieved by a complex set, of motor control systems. So a few of those systems are, we have 3 of them. We have vision, we have vestibular, and we have proprioception. Vision, of course, obviously, that's our eyes. Vestibular, motion, equilibrium, that's our inner ear and sort of in here. So any of you who've had vertigo or inner ear infections, you might be aware of how that affects your balance when you have those conditions. Proprioception is touch, or it could be your feet, it could be your hands, it could be your skin. A lot of the times we talk about it in our feet. Those of us who have some foot issues or challenges down there might have trouble finding our balance because our feet are either not feeling the ground or we're having some kind of problem that's causing the foot to not act as it should. So, and again, I listed some conditions under here. I think you can see that. Perfect. Inner ear, vertigo, head injuries, poor circulation, chemical imbalances, low blood pressure, high blood pressure, neurological conditions. I put arthritis in all caps. Not to be funny, haha, but arthritis affects most of us, I would say, at some point in our lives. I even have arthritis, and I'm, quote, young still. So all of us deal with arthritis, and it really can affect our balance. So that's why I put that in caps. Vision problems and just general overall aging. So I'm just going to scroll my screen up for a second. I'm a little far away for the mic. Hold on. All right, so some recommended just basic overall activities for balance: walking, biking, climbing stairs. The recumbent bike and a piece of equipment that we have here at Seabury, and I've seen it at other gyms, it's called the New Step, NU Step, New Step. It's like a recumbent elliptical. Those 2 machines are at most facilities, and they are wonderful for beginners. You're seated, but you're still moving. So you're building up some nice strength, but you're not worried about having to walk around, a mile, 2 miles for some of us who really, maybe that's not correct for us to do at this point. So those machines are really helpful, and I definitely recommend them. Stretching can help our balance when our muscles are tight and stiff. They don't operate as they should, so we become very rigid, which makes it difficult to move, and it affects our balance. Yoga is wonderful, and I mean chair yoga or mat yoga, either one. Yoga can help to strengthen and stretch muscles in static, which is still, and we'll talk about that a little more later when we get into our exercises, and dynamic, which is moving balance. Tai Chi is also wonderful for balance. It involves gradual weight shifts from foot to foot, along with trunk rotation and limb movement. So all of those things really can be very helpful. And all of these things here are fairly beginner friendly as well. You don't have to do a crazy mat yoga class. You can do a chair yoga class. You can do a gentle Tai Chi. And I'm sure some of you said climbing stairs, I don't know about that. You don't have to start right off climbing stairs. You can kind of work your way into it. But those of you who can still climb stairs, safely, I definitely recommend trying it. Even if you just go up and down once or twice a day for your normal routine, that's okay. So let me just scroll. Oh, perfect. You can see that. So I just want to touch very briefly on footwear. So some of us have come, including me, to the point in our lives that we're wearing sneakers most of the time, and that is just fine. You want something that's easy on and easy off, but you also want support, comfort, and stability. I actually wear stability sneakers because I have flat feet. So it gives me a little extra stability, so I feel pretty good when I'm walking around. So that being said, I would recommend getting measured and fitted for your sneakers or your shoe of choice if you can. Fleet Feet in West Hartford is a great place to go, as well as the New Balance store. I think there's one in Avon and Glastonbury. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's where they are. It's a good place to start. You can at least get your gait checked. They'll look at your foot, they'll measure, they'll make some suggestions of what your activities are. Are you walking? Are you biking? Are you doing more, just kind of around the yard? They'll be able to tell you what to get. And no, I do not get commissions, but I do recommend going to one of those stores. Sneakers are not cheap. I think most of us are aware of that by now, but your feet are very important for your whole body, everything, your balance, your stability, your overall comfort and movement. So it's worth it. And those of us who like to hang on to our sneakers for years and years and years because we love them, you can keep them for outside shoes, but I would replace your sneakers about every year, depending on the person. Sometimes the recommendation is 300 to 500 miles, if you can calculate that out. All right, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share, or Sarah, if you want to stop it for me, because we're going to move right into the exercise portion. Because that's really what we're doing here. So we're actually going to start seated, and I can pop it over and pop up there and turn off my screen share. So give me 1 second.
Got it, Kirsten. I got it.
Oh, thanks, Sarah.
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. You're good. All right. So I have a couple of toys. We're going to talk about those later for demonstration purposes. But I have my good old sturdy chair. All right. So I'm going to sit down. I think most of us are seated already. So this list that I have, I will make sure that Sarah has the PDF version of it, so you guys can take it and later on and make notes or anything you'd like to do with it. So here we are in our chair. For some of us, where we're going to start with our balance is seated. So we're just going to do a really quick little warm up just to kind of get everything moving and grooving. And then we'll get to some of our official balance exercises. So we're in our chair. We're just going to sit up nice and tall. We're just going to do a nice little shoulder roll. Good. So we're just rolling our shoulders up, back, and down. So my experience here with balance at Seabury, I work with a lot of folks who have balance issues. I work with a lot of folks who have fallen. Some have, had injuries, some have not. But I find that once you have a fall, you're very nervous. I don't want to say PTSD because that sounds extreme, but you're nervous, you're constantly worried about it. So some of the good things about practicing your balance is getting over the fear of falling, because sometimes you're just so tense that you end up falling anyway. So once your brain knows that, oh, I can do this, I'm okay, you kind of get the confidence to move forward with your routine. So let's just kind of move our head. We're going to move our head side to side, right to left. We're just doing gentle warm up. Good. Then we're going to look up and down. And again, you guys know your bodies and your limits. So if you have any neck discomforts or anything, just be very gentle. Good. All right, perfect. So we're going to actually do one of the exercises on the list right now. I call it stirring the pot. It feels wonderful and it's loosening up our trunk. So you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm stirring the pot. It's like I'm a big spoon in a big pot. This feels really nice. Good. And again, you can have a very small circle or it could be a little bigger depending on how you feel. Good. And then of course, we always want to go the opposite direction. We always want to do everything on one side and then everything on the other side. So stirring the pot. All right, perfect, perfect. Okay. So we're going to do what's called a weight shift. And again, these are very gentle exercises in our chair. So it could be a good warm-up exercise before you're getting into more vigorous routines, but it's still good for all of us to start, nice and easy and just kind of progress from there. So I hope you can see what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to move my arms out here just so you can see my hips. I'm going to shift my hips to my right. So I'm kind of lifting up my left cheek and hip. And then I shift the other way. Now, you guys can leave your arms here. I just wanted you to see my hips. Good. And as we're doing this, we're extending this side. So what we're not doing is this, right? We're doing our hips up, extend, and then we go to the other side. Now, how can I make this harder? Well, I can sit on something that's a little unstable. Maybe it's a piece of foam. These things are great. They're called Dynadiscs. You can stand, you can sit, you can do all kinds of things. So I'm not saying you have to run out and buy one, but if you happen to have one of these lying around, I think I bought mine at Ocean State. You can sit on it. Now, I know you guys probably don't have one, but you can see I have to stabilize a heck of a lot more while I'm seated. So this is a great place to start if your balance is very, if you're new to balance training and you're a little unsteady, because you're still in the chair and you're safe. But as I do this now, it's a lot harder to maintain my core stability. So just a fun toy that you can use. There's more on that later. All right. Perfect. So another one for seated balance is our leg extension. So extension, obviously we're extending our leg. So what I've done, I've just lifted my leg up. I'm sitting nice and tall, and then I put my leg down. Now you can do same side, you can alternate, does not matter. Extend and bend. So again, you could sit on your Dynadisc while you're doing this. It's a lot harder than you think. Good, so we're getting a little warmth in the top of the leg as well. Yep, so again, simple, basic exercises, but it's a good place to start. And this is a good warm up anyway for our knees. We're moving our knee joint. So if you're stiff in the morning, you can sit at the edge of the bed and do your knee extensions. Yeah. All right, so the last one for the chair, and we're just kind of on the tip of the iceberg today, but the last one seated is our leg lift. Now, a couple different choices. You can actually physically hold your thigh and lift up, or if you want more of a challenge, you just lift the leg without using your arms. Yeah, and of course, we're sitting tall, we're pulling in our belly, and we're breathing. Good. And you can hold that as long as you want, maybe, I don't know, 5 to 15 seconds, perhaps. And you just keep switching. Good. And of course, there's more versions of this if you want. But today, this is good here. And if you need a little extra support to hold your thigh, that's fine too. Good. All right. So the last one, which is my all-time favorite, we have everyone do these a million times a day, is our sit to stand. Sit to stand. So we're seated. How do I get up? Oh, I stand. Look at that. I sit and I stand. So this is kind of not only balance, this is leg strength, balance, stability, endurance as well. If those are hard for you right now, if you have arms on your chair, you just give yourself a little boost until you can do it without, okay? So sit to stance. I would recommend doing maybe 10 a day if you haven't been doing as much. But again, you have to see how you're feeling. Maybe it's 5, maybe it's 15. Meet yourself where you're at. But sit to stands are something that should be done every single day. So that's one of my favorite ones. Okay, so we're gonna stand up behind our chair. If there's anyone that doesn't want to stand, that just wants to observe, that's totally fine. So I'm just gonna move all my equipment here. So I might kind of kitty corner myself so everyone can see me. Otherwise, I'm going to be a little bit blocked by the chair. All right. So here's my chair. I'm holding on. Here I am. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is our static balance. So our stationary balance. We're not moving. We're not stepping out and in. We're just staying in place. Okay. So the first one I have is pretty simple. It's a wide stance and a narrow stance. So if you're not sure about your balance, just keep your hands on your chair for safety, all right? Otherwise, I'm gonna kind of kitty corner, like I said. You can bring your feet a little bit wider than hip width, which feels quite stable, right? So we're nice and tall. Maybe we're holding the chair. Maybe we're not, okay? So one fun thing to do, I don't know if fun is the right word, but that's the word we're gonna use. One fun thing to do while we're stationary is some head movements, because when we start to move our head, that's when we start to lose our balance. So if you're not sure, again, you're keeping those hands on your chair. There's a couple of things you can do to increase your challenge. You can move your head right to left and up and down while you're in your position. You can also close your eyes, which is a whole nother situation, while you're in your balanced position. You can also close your eyes and move your head. That's a lot. So again, if anyone has vertigo or anything like that with your inner ear, be careful with that one. So just for fun, let's have our nice wide stance. And I say wide is relative for everybody. So I'm probably quite a bit wider than hip width, but you pick your stance that you're comfortable with. So holding our chair. So I'd like you guys to think about standing nice and tall and see if you can close your eyes. If you're not comfortable, keep your eyes open, but you can see it changes it when your eyes are closed. It's like a whole new world. Good. All right, now open your eyes. we're going to bring our feet together. So my feet are touching, yours don't have to be, but I'm very narrow. So already I feel a little bit less stable. So now I'm nice and tall, my feet are together. I'm holding my chair if I need to, all right? So let's try a couple other head movements. So we're gonna keep our eyes open with our narrow stance, but we're gonna move our head right to left, slowly. Good. And try a couple other ways as well. Up and down, you know, side to side. If this feels super, super easy for you, you can try it with no hands. But again, you want to be very careful. And you can also try it with eyes closed. But again, be very, very careful. If you feel any kind of wobbly, I would make sure you're hovering or you're holding your chair. So just try a few things out, up and down, side to side, all that stuff. All right, so again, those are all the head movements that you can do. So let's change our feet. I'm going to move my chair for just a second. So the first thing we're going to try is our tandem stance. All right, so your tandem stance, I'll show you a couple different direction or visuals that you can see. My feet, think about a balance beam, right? Little narrow, I think it's 4 inches or something crazy. One foot is in front, okay? Now you're not directly behind the other one. Your back toes are to the back of your heel. So I kind of look like here. Okay, tandem stance. Here's my feet. Could you be, you know, completely like a balance beam? Of course you can, but that's a heck of a lot harder. So just be careful how you position your feet. You're a little more stable when you're here. Okay, so tandem stance. When we're in tandem stance, again, we can not hold on if we can. Maybe we are holding on, but we're closing our eyes. Maybe we're holding on, but we're turning our head side to side. There's a lot of different options. Eyes closed is really a challenge. When we lose our vision, our balance has to rely on other sources. So our proprioception, you know, our vestibular system. So sometimes when we're doing balance tests on residents here, we test all of those different aspects of your balance. So I can say, you know, Sarah, I think there's something going on with your inner ear. I think your vestibular system is a little whacked out. So it might be time to see this doctor, or we can make recommendations like that here at Seabarracks. We have tools in place for us. So if you haven't tried the other side, go ahead and try that. So again, tandem stance, you know, here we are, maybe my hands on the chair. Maybe eyes are closed, open, you know, all those things that we already talked about. Yeah. And we always want to breathe. Breathe it out. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So the last one, which is probably the most challenging for most people, is single leg stance. It's essentially standing on one foot, right? So we like to tell folks around here, if you can do this unassisted, which is hard, for 30 seconds or more, you're considered less of a fall risk. Doesn't mean you're not going to fall, but it means that you're fairly capable and have decent balance. This is tough for folks. This is very hard. So when people start the single leg stance, again, we hold our chair. We hold our chair, maybe one hand, maybe two hands. Sometimes we just need to place the fingertips on the chair, and that's enough stability. So you can play around with that. If you don't have a good chair at home, although I suspect most of us do, but if you don't, you can use your kitchen counter. Great place to practice balance. It's not going anywhere. It's solid, and you can stand right next to it for safety. So Single leg stance. I'm going to switch feet. So again, here we are, eyes closed, eyes open. Maybe we're not holding on, maybe we are. Head right to left, up and down, eyes open, eyes closed. All of those options, lots of options. And you can practice all of them. Yep. And the other thing, once you get pretty good at single leg stance, even if you're still holding on, sometimes people kind of, do one of these things. Ideally, you're standing up nice and tall, and you're sort of, it's almost like you're pushing into the floor with your foot that's on the floor. So you're really tall. Anyone who does yoga, think tree pose, right? This is tree, but essentially it's the same thing. Single leg stance, nice and tall. Perfect. All right, so let's move on to some dynamic movements. Dynamic balance, it's a little more active. We're moving, we're reacting, we're moving, we're stepping, we're sliding, all those kind of things. So some of the basic ones that we do here, either in classes or with our one-on-ones, start with heel and toe raises. So I'm going to turn to the side. Most of us are going to hang on to our chair, okay? Heel raises, and be careful, toe raises. Now, there's a couple ways you can do your toe raises. Sometimes, I know it's hard to see on the camera, but if you do one foot at a time, sometimes that's easier to manage, because sometimes I see people lift both toes and they go like that, which is not really what we want. We want to have just the toes lifting, heels and toes. So again, cautious. Maybe we're not holding on, but maybe we are. It's very easy to lose your balance backwards. So be very careful when you lift your toes. Most folks hold on. Sometimes I even hold on because I'm focusing on getting a good stretch. I'm not trying to go as far as I can. So, and see, I just lost my balance a little bit. So be careful on the toes. All right. So the next one, we call these empty coat sleeves. Seems like a silly name. So let me show you what it looks like, and then you can kind of play around with it a little bit. So the full version, you're kind of swinging your arms. You're swinging your arms side to side. Now, it's very easy to lose your balance. So if you have your chair, you're kind of sliding your hands along your chair, but you're still holding on. The other thing to consider is your knees. If you're doing a very large swing, you can see my knee kind of, it's twerking in the wrong way, it's kind of this way. So what you want to do, pivot, lift the heel, pivot, lift the heel, pivot on the ball of the foot. Yeah. And again, if you're doing a very small swing, that's okay too. But you can see, it's almost like when you're a kid and you have your coat sleeves out and you're swinging. That's basically what we're doing. So empty coat sleeves, that's what we call it. All right, so leg lifts. We did some seated, now we can do them standing. Leg lifts have a lot of benefits, not only for balance, but for your hips, all right? So I'll just show you a couple ways you can do them, and you can try them on your own. So we can sort of go front, we can go back, and we can go side. So front, side, and back. That's back, that's side, and certainly for front, you would have to move a different direction so you don't kick your chair. Are we holding our chair? Maybe, or maybe not. Maybe we're trying our leg lifts without the chair, maybe not. You can practice those in many different ways. So leg lifts, all right. So the next one is a little bit more movement. I call these speed skaters or skaters. So think of a speed skater, right? As they're moving, so watch me first. We're kind of going here. So you can already see this is a little more of a challenge, but guess what? Do them on your chair. Skaters, it's like I'm skating. Yep. You don't have to do it fast. Could you? Certainly, if you want more intensity. Good. And you might not be able to lift your heel very high. That's all right. That's all right. Good. So speed skaters, speed skaters. All right. So one of my favorites, directional lunges. So we can always hold our chair. You guys know that. So you could do these in many different combinations. Today, I'm just going to show you all three, and then you can mix and match. So you can go all to the front, all to the side, all to the back. You can alternate right and left, or you can do front, side, back. That was on all of my people's programming today. So what I mean by that, I go to the front, I go to the side, and I go to the back. So beginner, it's more of a weight shift, and I'll shift this way so you can see. So I'm not doing a deep knee bend. I'm just shifting my weight a little bit. Front, side, and back. And again, hang on to the chair. If you are a little more advanced, maybe you're not holding on. Be careful though. Front, side, back. Good. And most advanced, for people who are experienced with these kind of movements, you can actually turn it into a lunge. You don't have to do that, but that's available if it's within your comfort level. You know, side and back. Okay. Again, that's the most advanced, but you can kind of play around with that. And then of course we would do the opposite side. Sometimes it's nice to go side to side, you know, right to left, right to left. Sometimes it's nice to go forward and back, forward and back. There's all different ways you can do them. You can also go forward and behind. So forward, middle, behind, middle, you know, forward. If you're advanced, you can shoot the leg all the way back. So now I'm doing front and back. This is a little hard, but if you're there, you can do it. So directional lunges. Those are really good to do. All right, so we had our tandem stance. Now we're going to do our tandem walking. So this gets a little tricky. So I want everyone to just watch me first, okay? And then you can decide if it's appropriate for you today. So tandem walking, we're walking the line, right? This is much harder than it looks. Okay, so if you use an assistive device, a walker, a cane, you can absolutely use your walker. That would be wonderful. You know, you can, it's kind of tricky with the chair, but I guess you could do a few steps forward and back. Or the kitchen counter, the kitchen island, you can put your hand on the island and follow. Great place to do that. So tandem walking is a little more of a challenge, but it's good to do if it's safe. That's the key word with balance. Is it safe to do what I'm about to do? All right, so sidestepping. I'm going to move my chair for a second. So we have a variety of ways we can sidestep. And of course, you guys can hang on to your chair if you need to. I just moved mine so you can see. So we have single sidestep, which is just a step touch. We call it step touch. Step touch, or together, step touch. Great to do holding the chair. Wonderful. We can do two steps. 1, 2. Easy, right? 1, 2. Some of these lateral movements or side movements can be challenging because we don't move that way normally. You know, getting out of the car, stepping up on the curb, you know, those kind of things. We don't move that way. And sometimes those of us who have trouble with stairs, we kind of go up sideways, don't we? We kind of do that, or up and down. So it's good to practice it because most of the time we're just walking forward. You know, this is the plane we're moving in. So anytime we do the sideways stuff, it's challenging us in a different way. So single side step, double side step. Most advanced, which I don't necessarily recommend, but I want to show you guys, is a grapevine. You might remember back in the day in jazzercise, in aerobics, we all did grapevines, right? If you've had your hip replaced, maybe not the best idea. You might want to stick with, side step, okay? Or if you have 2 left feet, maybe not grapevine just yet. So I just want to show you so you can see it. Not necessarily recommending everyone to try it. You guys know your limits, and definitely hold your chair if you're not sure. So we step behind, that's the kicker, step together. Step behind, step together. It's a little tricky. So, and again, some of that crisscrossing might not feel good for hip replacements, so be very careful if you have one of those, all right? And of course, can you go faster? Of course you can. If you were in cardio class, remember this? Step back, step, touch. Yeah. So again, advanced. That one is advanced. All right. So 3 last things, and then we'll break for questions. I call it flamingo. That's not the official name, but that's what I call it. So there's a couple things from Tai Chi. I'm a Tai Chi instructor. I want to show you guys. So the first one, it's very similar to single leg stance, but you're moving. Single leg stance, we were just standing in place, right? So Tai Chi flamingo, it's not really the name of it, but that's what we call it. It looks like this. Up and out. Can you hold your chair? Yes, you can. Up and out. So we're moving, dynamic, but we're taking just a moment to do some static, right? So it's moving up and back. If you're having trouble with that, a good option, in and out. In and out. And of course, you would do the other side, of course. So the other thing for Tai Chi is I call it front and back weight shift. So I'm going to show you from the front and then I'll show you from the side. And you can certainly do it with your hands on the chair or one hand on the chair. So from the front, this is my right leg. I put my right leg in front, up and back, up and back. So from the side, here I am, up, my heel lifts in the back, and back, my toe lifts in the front, up and back. If I'm holding the chair, I can just use one arm, up and back. Yep. Good. And of course, we would do both sides. All right. So last thing for Tai Chi, and then we just have one more thing, is mud walking. Sounds silly, but that's what we call it, mud walking. So this is weight shifting very slowly. So to get ready, my knees are very soft knees, just so I'm not like this, okay? And I start to carefully, and you can watch me first if you're not sure about the mobility. I pick up my right foot slowly, put it in front, shift my weight forward until the other one lifts up, put it in front, shift my weight forward, and I just keep going like that. I'm shifting. I might go out of the mic range, but I'm shifting. And it's very slowly, like painfully slow. You can also go backwards, but be careful. So I'm going backwards, and so on. And I repeat that maybe, 2 or 3 times each way. So that's mud walking, M-U-D, mud walking. And I find most people, not all people, but a lot of us, when we do lose our balance, we're kind of like, we're going backwards. And that's the whole point of all these exercises, especially some of the lunges and the mud walking. If I lose my balance, I want to be able to recover. I want to be able to recover. I don't want to just crumble to the ground. So if I'm walking, and I have to pick something up, can I get back up? Yes, I can. It's the recovery. We all lose our balance. It's how we recover from it that is helpful. All right. So last thing, and then we'll do questions. So walking lunges, these are advanced, but you can make them a little bit easier. Similar to mud walking, but not quite. So walking lunges, I'm here, and I'll show you different versions in a moment. I'm here. So that's pretty close to mud walking, but mud walking has more of a slow shift, okay? Walking lunges are a little bit different. And I can tap, other side, I can tap. Most advanced, I'm bending my knees. I'm shooting my foot forward, bending my knees. Okay, so again, those are advanced for sure. Okay, awesome. That's everything I had for demonstrations. So why don't we sit down, and I'm going to move the microphone so I can see everybody, and then we can open it for questions.